And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Around the Bases with Bubba and Mo, episode 98. You can find the podcast on Twitter at Around Bases Pod and at all your listening locations. I'm on Twitter at BDintric and my co-host, as always, on Twitter at Boston_Mo. How we doing, man?
Doing well. How you doing?
Not too bad. Another slow, hot stove week, but at least pitchers and catchers are reported. They're reporting. Depends on who your team is. So
they'll have a free. Do they have a free agency thing like they did last year? Sort of a summit.
They might need to. I think Scott Boras, he's been really quiet lately, so I don't know what he's up to. He's like way too quiet for my liking. So
I wonder if
how that goes.
Wonder if he lost a little bit of commission from Kyler.
Oh, yeah. If he's worried about that little commission, I think we have bigger fish to fry. I think he's more worried about the giant ones he's going to land in Machado and Harper. I don't know if he's got both of them. I think he got at least Harper. So
yeah, he's got Harper for sure, not Machado.
Yeah, so he'll get a pretty nice payday from that one. That's for damn sure.
Mm-hmm.
And Harper did say he's not going to take a short-term deal, but I don't know if that's just talk or not. But we'll see how that goes.
All right.
But all right, let's kick off some baseball news before we get into some fantasy baseball outfield discussion. You kind of hinted at it already. Kyler Murray, he decided to go to the NFL. He's fully committed to the NFL, training for the combine, going to get paid a boatload of money right out the gate instead of struggling through the minor leagues and living in strangers' houses and getting paid nothing. What's your thoughts on this?
It's a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer. I think anyone who thinks that, you can think he might not make it as an NFL quarterback, but he's going to be a top 10 pick. That is a fact, not opinion. This quarterback class, not to get into football talk, but it's not great compared to like last year and a few years before that. So it's not a great class. People are enamored with a sort of dual threat quarterback a la Lamar Jackson last year. Baker Mayfield, although not a dual threat, very athletic, can run a little bit. So he's going to be a top 10 pick, which means if let's say he's 10th, Bubba, he'll get, I think Josh Rosen got 4 years, $17.5 million guaranteed, fully guaranteed. And right off the bat, he got a $10.5 million signing bonus. So right off the bat, he's making double the money that he did in his bonus as the 9th pick in the MLB draft. So not to mention the marketing aspect of football compared to baseball, unfortunately, but that's NFL's king. So I think ultimately he'll make, let's call it at a minimum $25 million, but I think it's going to be more upwards of like 30 to 35, 40 with the endorsements after if he doesn't make it, and then he can return to baseball.
Yeah, I'm thinking he's going to be making $40 million here in the next couple of years pretty easily. So I think it's a definite no-brainer. The part that's crappy for the A's is if he would have decided on this like a couple weeks ago, they would have gotten a draft pick for him. But, of course, that didn't happen. So they own his rights.
Is that true?
I heard a rumor about it. Like there was a deadline to declare what you're going to do. And,
yeah, see, I think it was, and I could be wrong, and you could be right, and the rumor could be right. I think it is. He signed before the deadline last summer, so that was the deadline for them to get a top 10 pick back. And so I think once he signed the deal last summer, that pick was gone. I think that's what
you might be correct there. Okay,
yeah. So
yeah. They got screwed on that one, but it is what it is. I don't blame the kid at all. It's a no-brainer, like you said.
Right.
It just goes back to, I think, what we talked about the very first time. I know I've had the conversation with others. This was the gigantic risk the A's took with this pick. Now, no, you did not expect Kyler Murray, who really hadn't been much of a quarterback in college, yet to go out and win the Heisman Trophy. But at the same time, any slight bit of success. Like, do you think if he was a third rounder or better, he still would have gone to football?
No.
Okay, so it's got to be this top 10 money.
Because it literally, like, talk about it like Trey Flowers, who's probably going to get paid $15 million a year over 5 years. This free agency for the Patriots, defensive end, got drafted in the 3rd round. Actually, he might have been 5th round. Either way, 3rd to 5th round, only got paid $4 million in 4 years of football. So I don't think he had to have been a 1st round pick for him to choose football, in my opinion, because the money's guaranteed right there. Whereas if he's going to be a 3rd round pick, it's like, he's going to really, really work his way. Now, granted, it's better than driving, through the Carolinas and stuff on a bus, like 8-hour bus ride, making nothing. But I just think it's only because he's a 1st round pick.
Yeah, no, it sucks, but maybe we'll see the next Drew Henson in 4 or 5 years. The A's will have a chance to have him in spring training. We'll see.
Yeah, I think, well, we'll have to see. I think that will probably happen. But all right, let's move on to the first big injury news, and it's even before spring training starts, and that's Francisco Lindor, consensus top 5 pick in fantasy. With what the Indians have done this offseason, trying to shed payroll a little bit, and they're kind of the window that they have, even though it's supposedly, Bubba's only 7 to 9 weeks, but Google told me that this is probably a grade 3 calf strain. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to go into any WebMD or anything like that. This is a tough one because this could linger a little bit, and we could see him not steal. Now, granted, I think he only had like 7 steals in the first couple months last year, but this is a big, big blow, and that lineup, outside of the first, 4 or 5, is dreadful.
Yeah, it's a rough team that's coming out there. The idea of him, not getting there till the second or third week of the baseball season is worrisome because how much spring training is he going to have? Not obvious spring training, but training to get ready.
Right.
We heard many guys talk about how that affected them last year, and sure, Lindor's younger, so it shouldn't be as bad. But you have to sit back and wonder, is he going to be ready? How long is it going to take him to be ready? And all those things factor into a guy that was a consensus, 4th or 5th pick, number 1 shortstop. It takes a big toll. I moved him down to my 5th shortstop, I think now. I debated putting Trevor Story ahead of him. I really did. It might be my 4th shortstop. It's 4th. I have Bregman, Machado, and Turner ahead of him.
Yeah, okay.
But I moved him down to 4. I couldn't put Story ahead of him. I was debating it, but I couldn't do it because if he does come back rocking and rolling, he's going to still be an outstanding ball player. Without 2 weeks of production, he can still play like 130 games and be just fine, and it won't be a big deal. But at the same time, I am worried this could linger. This calf injury is just – you've seen some of these muscle injuries and everything just be way too much for certain guys. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. It's not good. Him being young might be the best part about this, but not ideal. Not ideal at all.
No, like I said, that it could be something that lingers. I hope it doesn't because obviously he's so fun to watch. And, I wonder if the Indians get off to a bad start. I know he's coming back, but this has to be talked about, even though the division is really bad and they'll probably stick to it. But let's just say they get off to a bad start. You have to wonder whether Kluber's in play for a team or, for a team like the Dodgers, or if the Yankees get a couple of injuries in that rotation or something like that. It's very, very low. We're talking like 10 to 20% chance probably, Bubba, but it's something that's out there. I mean, the Indians really, really have been trying to shed payroll, and they have enough in that rotation to make it happen without one of the guys if possible. And Kluber is clearly the guy because he's getting older.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do because it was just a couple of days ago that they said the Kluber trade's pretty much off the market. But like you said, things could change pretty quickly if things don't come out right with Lindor and company, and it's an ugly situation. And makes you wonder why don't they go? I know they're trying to shed payroll, but maybe they do trade a guy and get some cash, but go sign a cheap Mike Moustakas or something and move some pieces around the infield and figure out that part of it. But who knows? Lots of ways you can go about it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This week, Baseball Prospectus came out with their PECOTA rankings and projections. We're not going to get into the player aspect of it right now, but we will talk about some team projections like we talked about last year. Just real quickly, we'll just go kind of division by division to get some opinions on it. We'll start with the wonderful American League East. They have the Yankees being 96 and 66, leading the American League East, the third best record in all of baseball, ahead of the Red Sox. Rays. The Rays are 3 games behind the Red Sox at 86 and 76. Then the Blue Jays and the Orioles would have winning 59 games, losing 103, and being the worst team in all of baseball. What do you think of the American League East rankings?
Well, let's start with the elephant in the room. The Orioles are going to be dreadful. It's going to be really.
I don't think I needed a computer to tell me that one.
No, I know. It's just like you look at some of the other teams that we're going to go over, like division by division, and it's just like, for example, like the Rangers rotation is awful, but their lineup is somewhat representable for like a major league lineup, and then you just got the Orioles where it's really just VR and Trey Mancini. If we're talking about fantasy. Yeah, it's really rough for them. The rest of the division is so interesting because obviously Yankees, Red Sox, Rays, all of them pretty much won 90 games last year. They did win 90 games, 2 of them obviously over 100, and it's tough. The Rays added And, Baseball Prospectus has them at 4 games less than they won last year, which is really, really interesting to me. I really would love to see all 3 teams make the playoffs. I think it'd be great for the Rays to be in there because they really think they could make some noise. So I'm probably going to be on the Rays over, depending on what it's set at now. Excuse me. And I think we'll have to look at those next week. But I'm not surprised that everyone loves the Yankees that they added. The Red Sox, I said it last year, they didn't overachieve in the playoffs. They overachieved in the regular season to win 108 games. It's a fact, not opinion, okay? Because it's very tough to win 108 games, and it's very tough to win 100 games 2 seasons in a row. So I'm not surprised that people are on the Yankees, what they add in their bullpen, their rotation, whatnot. And the Red Sox really have let their bullpen, quote unquote, go to shit. I mean, they lost Kelly, they lost Kimbrel. Kimbrel could still come back, but end of the day, right now, just looking at it, it's not over yet. Free agency, obviously, unfortunately, but I would probably pick the Yankees right now to win the division based off looking at each team on paper right now. They're stacked. They really are.
Yeah, the Yankees should take care of business.
But it's close.
I don't want to use the word run away with the division, but they should win the division.
They're not going to run away.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on how close the Rays are to the Red Sox, though?
Again, on paper, they're not. I really don't think they are. Blake Snell's awesome. If you told me Brett Honeywell was going to be ready and pitching a whole full season and was going to be the prospect they thought that he was, and then Charlie Morton, as he gets a little bit older, was going to be like he was in the first half and not the second half, I might buy it a little bit more. I just think they're just too young yet to get there. They had a lot of things go their way last year using the opener. I just don't think that they're there yet, but I do think that they probably will get that second wild card at the moment because I just think they're better than every other team in the West outside of the Astros and better than every team in the Central outside of a healthy Indians team.
Okay, I can dig that.
Yep.
Let's go to the NL Central or the AL Central, and even after everything we just said about the Indians, and PECOTA's usually pretty good at this stuff, they still have the Indians going 97-65. Winning the division by 16 games over the Minnesota Twins. This just shows how bad the AL Central is going to be. The Twins at 81-81. Then you have the Royals, White Sox, and Tigers at 67-95. First off, do you think the Indians are going to win 97 baseball games?
No.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty crazy one. Pretty crazy.
Their pitching will have to be exactly what we think it's going to be. Like literally, their rotation is probably – Nationals, it's probably the best in baseball, right?
Yeah, it's pretty darn close, especially if they don't trade anybody. It'd be real nice.
Yeah, because you got questions at the back of the Astros rotation. The Red Sox, 1-5, very, very consistent. Yankees, again, 1-5, very consistent. But I think ultimately the Indians probably have the best rotation. I do think that.
Yeah, and I agree with that quite a bit. I actually think the Twins might make more of a push here, if that makes any sense. 81-81 seems interesting to me. I think they're a better team than that, especially in this division. Do you find any differences in the Twins, Royals, White Sox, and Tigers?
Well, Twins are the second best team in that division. I don't think that's hard to say. I think it all depends on what the White Sox end up doing. If they do land Machado, and then they do somehow bring up Eloy early, and maybe they listen to me and go get like a Keuchel. Now we have something in Chicago that we can say, okay, they're kind of working towards, getting better and getting closer to 80 wins rather than we're talking them around 70. Yeah. The Royals and Tigers are going to be terrible.
Yeah, they're going to be really, really bad. Now let's go to the AL West, where they have the Astros running away with it, 98-64, the best record in all of baseball projected by PECOTA. And then we have the Angels, A's, Mariners, and Rangers. So it's really they have the Angels 2 games under 500. So they really downgraded the AL West after last year. We saw the A's make a push. We saw the Mariners even finish pretty well, even though they just did a firestorm. I think the A's are going to be better than this. The Angels, I don't know. But the Astros, I think, will still be very good. What's your thoughts on the AL West?
Yeah, I'm really disappointed that Billy Beane didn't do more with the rotation. They just signed Brett Anderson today, and obviously that's not really newsworthy to us. He might be able to give him, 50 to 75 good innings, maybe. That guy's always had arm problems, so that's a tough thing. I really wish they did more with that. I've seen people say that Jesus Luzardo is going to be there from the start. I think that changes things. I think you're high on him as well.
Yep.
A lot of people are. So I do think that changes things a little bit if they do have him there. Astros are going to win this division again. I really don't think it'll be close at all like it was last year through August. And then it's the Angels are there, right? Their lineup is decent. But Matt Harvey's their number one guy right now, according to Roster Resource. Say what you want about that. But Andrew Heaney's probably their best pitcher. But yeah, it's Matt Harvey's there. So I can't really count on them. And then their bullpen's just not great.
Yeah, I really don't know what the Angels are really trying to accomplish right now with that team. It's like you have Trout, and I know Ohtani's hurt, but the bat will still be there. You got to kind of make do with what you have before it's all said and done. And they haven't done enough, even close to enough around them. You mentioned Matt Harvey's there, which I like Matt Harvey as a project, but not for a team you're trying to go and win it all. It's just with all these pieces that are out there, you mentioned the name of like Keuchels, and we've had so many more that could have went and got an Eovaldi or some other options there. It seems like they should have done something to make this better. And it just seems like an overall kind of wasted opportunity for the Angels.
You know who's perfect for this team? Not only Keuchel, like you said, but if they could somehow get him on a short-term deal, it's clearly Marwin Gonzalez.
Yes. Again, I don't know how he's not signed, but hold there. Like they went out and signed.
That's a bonus guy too.
They went out and signed Cody Allen, like right after you mentioned Ty Buttrey, of course. But they signed Cody Allen, and that was an option. But yeah, Harvey. I like the Cahill signing. You got Skaggs, who maybe makes that turn with Heaney. But then Jaime Barria is your 5. The bullpen's nothing sexy at all. But like your starting lineup of Calhoun, Trout, Upton, Bohr. Bohr's got potential. Pujols, Simmons, Cozart, Lucroy, and Fletcher. You get to Pujols. One of these years is just going to stop working. One of these years, maybe not, maybe. And then Cozart, Lucroy, Fletcher, and Simmons is kind of like like it has some good days and some really bad days. So I'm not sure how that was going to work out.
Yeah, and you could see Griffin Canning up there. He didn't pitch great in AAA. He was very, very good in AA, but he's probably their top pitching prospect that's closest. So you could see him up there. And then the question is, when does Joe Adell get up there? I mean, if he fires through AA again, gets to AAA, we could see him by July.
Yeah, that's going to be the fun one for sure. Let's go to the National League real quick. The NL East, you have the Washington Nationals 89-73, the Mets 88-74, the Braves 85-77, the Phillies 85-77, and then the Marlins are wasting away in the wind. But you have 4 teams within 4 games of each other, and honestly, I think there's some possibilities. Maybe not 4 teams, but this race is going to be legit. I do kind of still see the Nationals holding serve, but the Mets, Braves, and Phillies, you got to respect them. And I could hear arguments for any of them. I think the Braves, the least likely out of the 4, but all seem really, really good with all the improvements they've made. They've been definitely the most active division of baseball this offseason, which doesn't say much for as active as baseball's been. But they've really made some noises. When the Phillies go and get Bryce Harper, it might catapult them over. These PECOTA standings were updated as of today, February 12th. So at this moment, they have the Nats taking it, but like I said, within 4 games of 4 teams. Do you agree with this?
This is like a toss-up. Yeah, I think right now you do, provided Scherzer's still Scherzer. I mean, he's 35 years old. So at one point, he's going to have to start to regress a little bit. Strasburg's got to stay healthy. They signed Corbin. Can he be the Corbin that he was last year? Right now, I agree with it. I think the Mets have a lot of questions. The Braves, obviously, they got Donaldson. Other than that, they kind of stood pat from where they were last year, which I was hoping they wouldn't. I was hoping they'd splash a little bit. They've got to decide what young pitching is going to be their future. They're going to put Gohara in the bullpen. That's a big thing that people are talking about. And then the Phillies did a lot. You have to assume, Bubba, that they're going to get Harper and Machado. You just have to.
Yeah, at least one of them.
Like if they do, now does that push them over the top? Is that 4 games better to push them over the top? It's It's going to take like 3 hours to do research to pick who exactly, like on paper, and just gun to my head, I say the Nats right now.
Yeah, right now I like these standings. I can see it. It's going to be so weird because yes, if Harper signs to the Phillies, I kind of like the Phillies more, but at the same time, what holds the Phillies back so much is that starting rotation that's not consistently there. Everyone's saying Pivetta is going to become this next breakout. Everyone's going to say Eflin's this next guy. A lot of these what ifs. You have Vince Velasquez who hasn't really put it together. So there's a lot of kind of missing pieces there that they all hit. They're going to be really, really good because that offense is already good without Harper. You go and throw Harper into it, it's going to be really, really scary. The crazy part about this with these four teams, they're going to beat up on each other so much during the regular season. When you play each team, 18 times or whatever, they're going to really take it to each other. And the sad part is there's a good chance these four teams might be better than a lot of the wild card teams in baseball. Yeah. And only probably two, like maybe none of them might qualify just because they beat up on each other so much. It's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out. I can't wait. I can already see it now. Like the Cardis or somebody with a computer model is going to actually say, strength of schedule and all this crap about these four teams are the best in baseball, even though they don't have the best record. And it's going to start a whole debate. I can see it already. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting. Because last year it ended with the Braves, Nats, Phillies, Mets were the standings. And now it's a little shifted around.
Yeah, I just hope the Braves really stay in it because they made a run last year. I think I said that the whole manager of the year thing with Brian Snitker, like if they finish fourth, he could fall out of it, and they could fire him like after this year just because of they kind of overachieved last year, and then now they kind of move back to where they are. Their lineup is awesome, but and then they have a bunch of young starters there. How long does Taryn stay there? They got Gaussman's too that they got at the deadline. And then the Soroka and Tuki Toussaint, do they really push, those guys out of there?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how they do it because I know we said it before with the Donaldson 1-year deal, it kind of feels like they're not going all in. They're trying to stay put while their guys maybe get another year of seasoning before they bring them all up. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it all kind of plays out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, NL Central. This is a fun one. It was a good run last year. They have the Brew Crew winning it again at 88-74, a game ahead of the Cardinals at 87-75. I can see both arguments there. And they have the Reds and the Pirates at 81-81, and the Chicago Cubs in last place at 80-82. Couple takeaways here. I can see the Brewers winning it. The Cubs down at the bottom makes me laugh. But the biggest takeaway is I think they have all five teams really close to each other, a.k.a. similar to the NL East, beating the crap out of each other. What do you think about this NL Central prediction?
I can't, for the life of me, see if the Brewers and the Cardinals are as good as we think they are, okay? And the Cubs still are the Cubs. They still have a decent rotation. However, their bullpen is terrible. I just can't, for the life of me, see both the Reds and the Pirates winning 81 games. There has to be one of those two teams that are around 73 to 75 games. And unfortunately, it's probably the Reds, but I'm still, my whole take last year was with the Pirates is, what a boring team. They didn't really go for it, yada, yada, yada. And sure, they're a little bit more intriguing with, Chris Archer there and stuff, but he hasn't been, tremendous per se. In the NL, hopefully with a full season, it'll be all right. But I'm not thrilled by their lineup. They've got some good guys. I mean, Dickerson had a better year last year. Not a great second half. Marte is a stud. Polanco's going to be hurt at the beginning of the season. I think what possibly puts them over the top, Bubba, is their bullpen. Yeah, I think that's probably what they're saying is their rotation and their bullpen is good enough to keep them. And she agrees with that take. So it's tremendous that I'm just throwing hot takes all over the place in the Pittsburgh Pirates, and your dog loves it. It's tremendous.
Yeah, sorry about that. She was sound asleep, and apparently someone woke her up. That will get edited out of the actual podcast.
I don't know. I think she loves the hot take. I love it.
Yeah, she likes it. She's still getting growly about it. So this is fun. But I just don't see how the Pirates are going to be there. They talk, they have all their different metrics and perspectives. I haven't gotten fully into everything they break down compared to other sites. There's so many good things about all of them. But, they have a lot of these teams with very similar DRAs. their FRAA fielding. What's the way they call this? Fielding runs above average. I think that's a very interesting telltale sign because they have the Brew Crew way ahead of everybody else. And so basically, I think they're saying, these three teams, the Reds, Pirates, and Cubs, are going to score more runs, and the Brew Crew will score, but their defense, it's just, I don't know. There's a lot of weird factors here that I don't see how they're this close. But.
Yeah, Mitch Keller he's been, I know Prospect Live guys, they've been, some are high on him, some are really, really low. I think it might have been Ralph that has him outside of the top 100. I forget, one of them had him outside the top 100, but I mean, he could be coming up too. So that's really another wrinkle that they could have, and really their staff would be complete if he is what they think he is.
For sure. And lastly, we'll go to the NL West, where you have the Dodgers yet again taking care of business, 93-69, best record in the National League. You got the Rockies, 84-78, D-backs just over 500. And the Padres are creeping up to 76-86, and the Giants at 74-88. Not the worst record in baseball, but the 7th worst record in baseball. I'll take that. Better than last year. Yeah, I don't see much to argue about here. The Dodgers should run away with this one again. And then I think the D-backs take a step back. The Rockies should still be pretty good. I pretty much agree with all this.
Yeah, I do too. The good thing for you is they upped the Giants from 72-90 to 74-88. So that Gerardo Parra signing must have really.
Gerardo Parra, Stephen Vogt, minor league signings. Dude,
exactly. So that put them 2 wins over. They still have that D-backs over 500. So that'll be. We think the Rockies are second best team. This is clear here. Whoever finishes third, I won't be surprised by anything, because the Padres really could take that next step if Fernando Tatis gets up and Chris Paddock, and the young guys just really continue to mature. That wouldn't surprise me if they end up finishing third.
So right now, when it comes down to it, you have the Yankees, Indians, and Astros winning their divisions in the American League, and the Red Sox and Rays in the wild card. Do you see any changes you'd make there?
Nope.
All right. Nationally, you got the Nats, Brew Crew, Dodgers taking care of business, and then you have the Mets and the Cardinals in the wild card. I'm not going to argue with it, but there's going to be a lot. The National League, I know these are just projections. The National League looks like it's going to be damn competitive this year, at least in the East and the Central. It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I wouldn't change anything right now, but again, as we get closer and free agents get to where they're supposed to be, we'll be able to get there.
Yeah, we'll definitely be. The PECOTA updates pretty much daily as roster moves happen and everything. So we'll keep an eye on this. We'll save this link, and it'll get used quite a bit as the season goes on for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get to our fantasy. This one, obviously a very deep one. It's the outfielders. I think everyone can agree it's probably Trout Betts, 1-2 consensus. I don't think many people are taking Betts over Trout, but I'm sure there's some people out there that would do it. Can't really go wrong with either one. And the next three, you'd go, it's Acuna, Yelich, and JD Martinez, and they're really sort of interchangeable. And by the way, we're going to do this redraft here. Obviously, Dynasty, you'd probably take Acuna there. But in terms of a redraft league, 1-year league, how are you ranking those three, Bubba?
I rank them in that order: Acuna, Yelich, and JD. I think Acuna separates himself from those two. I think with Acuna, you have a pretty safe floor with extreme upside, because this guy is so talented. We might not have even seen how good he really is yet. Like a bold prediction I'll be willing to make, and maybe I'll say it again at the bold prediction episode, but I think by the end of the season, Acuna is in the Betts and Trout conversation. Okay. I think he's that good. I think at worst, you're seeing 20-20, 25-25 type stuff. You got a potential 40-40 guy here, which we don't see in baseball as often. At least 35-30 type guy. This guy's really, really good. So I think there's a lot to like there. There is a concern that he might not steal as much now that he's not betting leadoff. I've heard all those conversations. So give me 35 and 20, and I'm still over the moon with that. So I think there's a ton to like about Acuna. Yelich, I have him just behind him. Well, not just behind, but behind him, because we got to take a step back and realize the 2-month run he had was out of this world, and he's still going to be extremely good. He's still going to give you steals, home runs. He's going to cover all 5 categories, but it's going to be a step back from what you saw last year. And like Steamer and everything, they project it and they show you that. But then after them, I have JD Martinez. If you want to put JD ahead of Yelich, I'm not going to argue with you. The only deciding factor there for me is the stolen bases. One thing when I'm drafting this year, I'm not trying to get the Mondesies and those guys of the world that are going to have to steal a bunch of bases from my team. I want the Yeliksons type early and some other guys later. They're getting 20-plus stolen bases and then go from there because I can find power all over the draft. I love JD. If he falls to me and I'm sitting there and those guys are gone or whatever, give him to me all day long. If you want to take him over Yelich, no problem with you there. If you're in an OBP league, I'd probably put him over Yelich in a heartbeat. But, with your first pick, when you can get all 5 categories with a nice, safe start going on there, that's the difference between Yelich and JD for me. But, yeah, Acuna is clearly the third, and I really think he's in that top tier discussion at season's end.
I like it. I might shock some people here because I'm going to find steals somewhere else a little bit later. I know that Yelich and Acuna will get there 20 to 25. Maybe Acuna gets more than that if they do let him run a little bit. I'm going to go, and this isn't a homer pick, I'm going to go JD just because, he's going to give you, he's not going to steal 20 bases, but I'm going to get every other category 100%. Like I know I'm going to get that from him. He's in probably a better lineup than both of those guys. He's going to be right in the middle of that order. Probably he's going to be right behind Betts now, I think. It's going to be Benintendi, Betts, and JD. That's an unbelievable top 3. So we'll have to see exactly how they do it. But that's what I'm going to go. I'm going to go him first, and then I'm going to go Acuna, and then I'm going to go Yelich. I think he'll take a little bit step back in the power ranks. And I just, like you said, that 2-month run was absolutely insane. So I'm going to go with my safe option in JD, and then I'm going to go Acuna and Yelich.
Yeah, and then that's the fun part about these early guys is they all have a good argument to go where they're going. And exactly. That's why when I give my opinion, I always say, if you want to take them, I'm not going to argue with you because it's pretty fair. Like when we get to later draft picks, maybe not on the show in general, but later picks, okay, I'll make a really firm stand on them. I'm never going to call someone an idiot, but I'm going to say, do not take this guy. But, yeah, on these guys, they're all first-round picks, so do what you wish.
Because that's the thing about it is that everyone has is access to the same data. So it's like we're going to find something there that maybe we don't like and we have to take a stand on. And, you can – that's why it's really – there's no right or wrong until the end of the season, right?
The fun part about fantasy baseball, and we can move on, is out of all the fantasy sports you play, it's the most volatile one that you can do all the research you want, and the end result is going to be so crazy.
Right. Yeah, it's why it's the most fun in my opinion.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna do some player profiles here, just sort of some. There's a few of them. They're all, if I look at it, the draft champions here. I think I set it up, Bubba, where it's sort of the back end of the top 10 outfielders, outside of Bryce Harper. So you've got Judge. Not top 10, but they're pretty damn close, right? Blackman, Judge, Benintendi, and then I had Bellinger in there as well because he was up there last year, and I think we both agree on Bellinger. But let's start with Judge, and I'm just going to kick it off, Bubba. I ended up being right about Judge last year, but that's because he broke his wrist. He got hit by a ball on his wrist and broke his wrist, and then really wasn't the same when he came back. And he probably came back a little bit too early, but they were a good team, and they kind of had no choice. I am going to own as much shares as I can of Aaron Judge this year. I think he's going to be a monster. I think he probably hits 45 minimum if he stays healthy this whole season. So I'm very, very excited about Aaron Judge at 21 right now on the draft champions. His first half was just insane, and then he just had that bad break.
Yeah, he had the bad break for the second straight season, which is something to keep in mind. But I know.
No,
he's got a shoulder injury and then the wrist deal. Not saying he's injury prone by any means, but he's had the back-to-back seasons, which keep an eye on, I guess. But he's very, very good. Very, very good. No questions there. He was on such a freaking tear in that first half. There's no questioning that. He is going at pick 21, like you said right now. His teammate Stanton's going right behind him. Look at Steamer's projections. They got Stanton for 45 homers and Judge for 35, which makes me kind of want to look into that some more. But I think Judge is really, really good, like you said. He's super, super young still. He's going to be 27 this year. He's finding his groove. I got no problem with that. I think he's going to be a very popular play. I think a lot of people are going to like him a lot. You left Harper out, so I'll just ask, would you go Harper or Judge?
I'm going to go Judge. I think it changes a little bit. I mean, I think we both think he's going to go to Philly. It might change a little bit because that park is just insane. He should hit 1 million home runs out of there. But yeah, I think I'd go Judge right now over Harper.
Don't hate that at all.
All right, I'm going to let you start with Charlie Blackmon because I have some thoughts on Charlie Blackmon. I want to see where you're at with him.
Charlie Blackmon's very interesting because last year he was going late first round. He still got 27 homers, still scored 94, still stole 13 bases, only drove in 87, hit 291. 291. He scored 119, drove in 70.
Yeah.
All pretty good looking numbers to me. He probably, like even for first round, those really good numbers. People were not happy with that. They were complaining. I think a lot of it had to do with Christian Yelich coming out of nowhere. Blackmon has now dropped towards the end of the second round in a 15-team league, middle to end of the second round. I think that is extreme value. He's still in Coors Field, which is always nice. He's going to be 33. I think there's a lot to like about Blackmon. At the same time, there's a guy we'll talk about right after this that a lot of similarities. Just age is a big difference. So I like Blackmon, but what did you have to say on this one?
I'm not a Blackmon guy this year. I'm out on Blackmon. His expected stats on StatCast last year is not good. Expected batting average, his batting average 291, expected XBA was 277. His slugging, okay, he slugged 502. His expected slugging was 438. The 64-point difference. That's a lot. And then same with his WOBA is 368, and then expected was 342. So there is a lot there. He doesn't steal anymore. He attempted the least steals that he has. He's going to score a ton of runs in that offense. And like you said, he's in Coors. But I think as that average goes down and he gets older, I don't think I want to spend a second-round pick on him when I like a lot of guys behind him too. And I just think that at some point he's going to regress a bit. Maybe 33 is early, but you can already see the regression happening over the past few years where, 2017, 37 homers, he loses all that. He scored 20 less runs. He drove in 34 less RBIs, and then his average dropped 40 points. And his hard hit went down about 3.5% as its ground ball rate, went up about 4%. So there's something there for me that I don't believe in him, and I just don't think a second-round pick is going to be value for me.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But I could see him being just fine. I'm trying to get some FanGraph splits here, and they're not really cooperating with me at the moment. And I've been having that issue a lot lately with this new splits tool they got going on. But I'm not liking it at all. I was trying to get his home and his road splits, and when I click on home and road, it just shows one.
So yeah, I have him right here, just on the regular splits page on his main page. So his home splits 334, 14 homers, 37 RBI, 70 runs, compared to his away split 15 homers, 33 RBIs, 49 runs, 249.
Yeah, what I was trying to look at, though, was the advanced stats that you can pull up on the splits tool, and it's being really a big pain in my ass right now. I got him right here.
Yeah,
okay. WOBA 406, 332, home road. You guys, his ISO differences, his OBP difference. Basically, what I wanted to ask was, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, is those X stats you mentioned from Baseball Savant, do we see that trend with Rockies players or not?
It's a great question, and I can run it real quick. So let me look at it for you. Let's see what we got here.
Because that's my biggest question. Is I agree with everything you said. I've been writing articles on that kind of stuff, looking for those kind of guys that had outproduced their expected stats. But I'm wondering if the Coors Field effect.
I was going to say it might be a little bit of a Coors Field effect. He is actually not even the most extreme. Obviously, Arenado and Story is. So that's an interesting one. I didn't even look at that. So that might be a Coors Field effect there that I'm not seeing. But I'm still not even with the X stats, Bubba. I'm still seeing a bit of regression with everything that I really don't want to take him as a second round pick.
No, and I have no problem with that. Yeah. I could see the biggest thing is the age is, as he keeps getting older, eventually the drop off is going to happen. Like he kept doing it last year. And so I could see that. And that's why the next guy we'll talk about here, I could see he looks like a mini version of him, but like 7 years younger.
Yeah. Like I want Soto 7 picks later. I want, I don't know if I'd go Hoskins, but there's just more guys that I would wait on that will give me a lot of his power. Maybe not as many runs, but hopefully I'll take care of that in somewhere else.
If you want, if you might not care, but so NFBC has him going 9th outfielder off the board right now.
Yep.
My outfielder rankings, I have him 16th.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah, so I have very similar feelings as you do.
Yeah. Okay.
Take us away on Andrew Benintendi.
Yeah, real quick on Benintendi. I know we kind of had a thread with a few people the other day about him. He's going to lead off this year. They want him to run a little bit more. He's obviously going to have some. He's going to have fewer RBIs, but he might get to 125 runs this year. And then he steals 30 bases and gets to 20, 25. I know his second half wasn't great in terms of his power, which is kind of funny to me because I'm pretty sure he had an awful April too. Because I remember looking at it last year, Bubba, and it was him and Bregman that I was just like trying hard to get, and obviously. In keeper and dynasty leagues, going to be tough for teams to not give up on a guy, but I was trying to somehow get them off of their hands, knowing that they were going to rebound for the rest of the year. And
he had a very slow start.
Yeah, so his April was 241 or 242 with 1 home run, and then he had 12 home runs the next couple months. So he didn't have a great second half power wise, but I really, really believe in Benintendi this year. I do think he's going to take that next step. And especially when Mookie and JD are going to be driving him in all year.
Yeah, I'm with you there. You're going to get those steals. The power is still there with Benintendi, Benny Biceps. So there's definitely a lot to like there when it comes to Benintendi. I'm waiting for that big breakout. Like you said, we had that thread. I could see it coming here sooner than later. So yeah, give me some Benintendi. I definitely have him over Blackman. I have him actually as my 8th guy. I have Soto right before him, but yeah, I have Benintendi 8th in the outfield for me.
And I know Vlad Sedler kind of tweeted out that he found maybe the Christian Yelich of this year, and there'll be an article coming out soon. And I wonder if that's Benintendi.
I have a feeling it would have to be later than that to be the Yelich.
You think so?
That's my guess.
What was Yelich going last year? Like 50 or 60?
Yeah, he was probably like a 3rd or 4th rounder.
Okay.
I think that's what, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. So that's where I could see that going.
Okay. All right. Last one. I think we're both on the same page here. Is Cody Bellinger. What say you on him?
Yeah, I'm not a big belly guy. I haven't been a big belly guy last year. Won't be one this year. I just think he goes too high for what I like. The swing and miss stuff, the zone control, all the good fancy stuff people like to talk about, I am not there with him. He's not quite Javi Baez, but there's definitely some things to keep in mind when you're looking at his approach to the plate. And I think it improved a bit last year compared to the year before. The O swing is still 28%. It was 27% the year before. His swing percentage is still pretty high. His O contact was 6% higher last year at 62%. You're relying on a lot of out of the zone damage, basically, which is something I'm not a huge fan of. His swinging strikes 12.3%, not horrible, but not great at all. The power's there. That's good stuff. The overall, approach of the plate, I guess, is better. The walks are only 11%. I like to see more walks, and that'll lead to more stolen bases and runs scored. The power dropped off quite a bit last year. Played 162 games, only hit 25 homers. So I'd rather have other guys ahead of Bellinger. I think you might get similar numbers to what you got last year, but at that point in the draft where he's going at 16, I'll take Rhys Hoskins and his 35-plus home run upside. I'll go later and go with George Springer, the guy that everyone forgets about, that is basically Cody Bellinger better, if that makes any sense. I'll take Tommy Pham over Cody Bellinger.
I was just going to say. Yep, I was going to say.
So, Cody Bellinger is just not a guy I'm in on. It's one of these years he'll have a good year again, and I'll eat crow on it. But until then, I'll just sit and watch everybody else draft him.
Does Puig outperform Bellinger?
I will go as far as saying yes.
So that'll be very interesting. If not that they were ever going to trade Cody Bellinger, but the fact that they traded Puig. Now, granted, I think it was a little bit of his character that really just wore on them, and they just kind of had to just call it a day because they only had 1 year left. The interesting one that I'd like to see is, you get two rookies that are coming in, and just to do that player debate out of the way, I think I would take Hoskins over Bellinger as well. That was one of our player debates for a little bit later, but Bellinger going at 41, Hoskins going at 44 in draft champions. Is Eloy Jimenez and Victor Robles, could they outperform Cody Bellinger?
Could they? Yes.
60 picks later.
I'd be willing to take the gamble on Victor Robles just because I think he'll be there from opening day on, and there will be no funny business where there shouldn't be funny business with the White Sox, but I put nothing past them right now because they're still rebuilding.
Could be a year all over again.
Yes, so I that could happen. I'd go Victor Robles over him. I think Victor Robles is a fun one. It's a guy that I've compared to the likes of Lorenzo Cain and Marcell Ozuna. You can get Victor Robles type stuff there. So yeah, I'd be okay doing that. Probably not most ideal situation, but I'd be okay there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I won't, again, sort of like Blackman at this current price, I probably won't own a lot of Cody Bellinger. He looked lost at the plate in the playoffs for the most part.
Yep.
So hopefully he gets it back because I do own him in a 20-team dynasty where I traded him straight up from Moncada 2 years ago. So far that's kind of worked out for me, but it'll be interesting to see what he does this season. Let's get to David Dahl and the dilemma with him. Obviously, he had the arm trouble in 2017 that really cost him his whole season. Took him a little bit to get back last year, where he only played basically in 96 games through AAA and in Colorado. But I mean, pretty good power year. 16 homers, 48 RBIs. He got 5 steals, 273. 325 OBP. Pretty good year for him at pick 70 with his injury history. Do we give him a shot there?
Yeah, you can give him a shot there. He actually fell a little farther than I thought in the BARF draft this past weekend, but I'd still take Tommy Pham over him. But I'd be willing, if you're okay on certain categories, taking the chance on Ozuna. I'd probably take Puig over him.
Yeah, I would too.
So it's just kind of a weird situation. After Puig, it's like, okay, you have Malik Smith and Dahl. Okay, if you want stolen bases, I can see your argument, but I'd probably roll with Dahl. Eddie Rosario and Dahl is a very interesting comparison. I could see a lot of pros and cons on both sides of that. What I was going to ask you is with David Dahl, I love the hit tools. It's just the concerns on breaking down all the time. But when he's on the field, he's really, really good. He's going to be batting in the middle of that Rockies lineup. We saw what he can do with playing every day. He's finally going to have that job. Would you go Dahl over Bellinger?
At their current value?
Yes.
Yes, I would.
I agree.
Yeah, I would. It's interesting. I'm just so down on Bellinger. I just one of those things where it's just like you watch so many of his at bats and the eye test comes into play where he just looks lost a lot. He really does. And it's kind of scary because he took off so well in that first year. I'm talking Bellinger. And I think, like you said, you were out on him last year. I was probably out on him on where he was getting drafted. But I didn't think he'd be that bad last year.
Yeah, I didn't think he'd be that bad. But, where you were drafting him out last year, you were hoping for 30-plus homers. So you got the short end of the stick on that one. And I think you're going to get similar numbers this year, if not worse. But I think you get similar. And that's just not what you want at that point.
What about Dahl or Haniger?
That one's tough. I'm going to go Dahl for the Coors Field upside. Haniger is just – I don't know. I'm not sold on him completely yet. We saw a lot of ups and downs with him last year, a lot of holes there that could be exploited at times. Yeah. I'll go Dahl.
Okay. Speaking of Mitch, I tried to put together a bunch of guys here. And again, we don't have to spend a ton of time on this, but I felt like these are mostly power guys, maybe outside Puig, and then a couple of them, Rosario and Justin Upton. They'll give you, 7 to 9 steals. But most of them are sort of, 22 to 30 power guys. High OBP for a few of them other than Eddie Rosario and Ozuna. And so there's 9 guys here, Bubba, from ADP 64 to 140. We'll try to organize this as best we can. We got Springer, Ozuna, Puig, Rosario, Haniger, Castellanos, Upton, Conforto, Peralta. Out of those guys, Bubba, really, I'm not a big Springer guy. I'm not a big Marcell Ozuna guy this year. I'm a huge Conforto guy, and I've always been a huge Castellanos guy. Is there any guys like, for example, David Peralta is the last one on that list at 140. Are you taking him over anyone, or do we not believe in David Peralta this year?
I like Peralta quite a bit. I think there's a lot to like there. The average is there. The OBP is there in an OBP league. He's going to be the main focal point of that offense now with no Goldie. I'm not expecting 30 home runs like we saw last year.
Agreed.
But the overall production I like a lot. He's not going to run, which pretty much all these guys aren't going to run. But I like him. I think when you're getting that, does have some nice value to you. You mentioned he's going around, pick 141. I don't hate that at all at that point in the draft, going around guys like Ender Inciarte, who you're drafting solely on steals and hoping he gets them.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Hicks is 16 picks earlier, but that's a whole other discussion. But Peralta McCutchen, that's interesting. I might actually go McCutchen over Peralta in that scenario, just situation. Like at that stadium, top of the order with the big bats behind him, I might go McCutchen over Peralta there. But I do like Peralta quite a bit. I can see the argument for him.
Yeah, I like Steamer is extremely low in his power at 18. Most of them have him around 22, 23. I think that's probably fair. His hard hit percentage last year, 48%, was wild. I think it was 54% in the second half. So he was really good. It scares me a little bit that it's sort of a one-year wonder. I think, like I said, that around 19 to 23, 24 is probably right about his power, which you probably can find a little bit later. Like I said, Ozuna, I know it's a contract year. He just wasn't great last year. He really was not good at all. Doesn't walk a ton. Sure, he doesn't strike out a lot. His ISO only 153. Makes you wonder if the 2017 year was a little bit of a fluke. So I'm not sure I'm going to be in on him. I've talked about Conforto all the time. Okay, Conforto, I think is going to be a monster this year, and I think I talked about him, way before when we first started the offseason on some guys you were going to be in on early. I know, Saris just wrote a big article on him. I haven't read it yet on purpose, trying to wait to see till we finish this a little bit to make sure I wasn't stealing anything from there. But I'm a big Conforto guy this year. Obviously, he was hurt at the beginning of last year, and that's really my guy. Rosario, I don't think I'm going to be in on. He had an awful second half. And there's just some hit tools there that I'm not sure he's going to have that much power that he had last year. So my big guys, like I said, I'm always a Castellanos guy. And Bubba, I think there's a chance that he gets moved out of that park.
I'm hoping so, because I like Castellanos a lot. Like the hard hit rate, all the X stats you want to look at, all the baseball savant stat cast data you want to see is outstanding. Sure as being cleanup, someone's going to have to drive in runs there. He's going to be fine, but if you want the ultimate upside with him, get him out of that ballpark. There's a lot to like there with him. Like Puig, everyone's on Puig. Eventually, he's going to outprice himself, but for now, I'll keep playing the game until it gets out of hand. I'm with you on Conforto. I think big things with Conforto and even his teammate Nemo, you're getting at a discount as well. I think there's a lot to like with those two guys, but Conforto especially. A healthy season of Conforto is going to be really, really nice. Something to look at there. But the last guy, as you said, you weren't big on him. I just want to mention George Springer. I think this guy is getting overlooked by many people. This is a guy that keeps dropping year after year. He was banged up a bit last year, but he still played 140 games. The power was down, similar to Cody Bellinger. But prior to these last two seasons, 29 and 34 homers. He still scored over 100 runs, drove in 71. He had over 80 the previous two. And his batting average is down, but the BABIP dropped quite a bit the last 2 years, actually. But I think he's still very, very good. He's going to be healthy to start the year. Hopefully he stays healthy. That's a big hopeful. But where you're getting him in the draft, I think is, you're going to get consistency. So you have a very safe floor at pick 64, which is crazy. But there's a lot of upside. I still have Tommy Pham around him more. But I think Springer is very, very interesting at that position.
Yeah, I just have never been a Springer guy, and I think it's because he lost the steals, even though, 2017 I was clearly wrong because he did get the average up to 283. And he just, and the BABIP was sort of around where it was. I think where it was last year, I know, it was 342. I think he was more of a sort of a contact guy at that time. It's very interesting. Like I said, he doesn't steal anymore. And I think that'll continue. But like you say, I mean, he's right in his prime, 29 years old. So you would think that the power would come up. I know, the bat has him at 28. Steamer has him at 26. I just think the average is going to continue to drop a little bit. So I'm a little bit worried about that. And the way he does play, not that he's been hurt a ton, he really hasn't been hurt at all. I think 2015 was hurt a little bit. But there is an outside 5% chance at sort of freak injury because the guy just goes balls to the wall. I'm not going to put that in my projections, but I'm just a little bit worried about him. And like you said, I'd rather Pham. I'd rather wait on a couple of the guys that I've talked about before. And then I don't know if I'd go as far as David Dahl over him, but it's pretty damn close right now.
If the balls to the wall projection are some of the best ones.
How do we put that in a model? Are we able to put that in there?
I think you need an emoji. Like, I'm not saying eggplant completely, but you need some kind of emoji.
I'm just looking for anything to get off of them,
There you go.
But so yeah, that's where we're kind of at with those guys. Like I said, I think there's a lot. They have a lot of the same qualities for the most part, outside of Springer leading off in a tremendous lineup. All right, let's get to a few player debates. Then we'll get to the targeting over 200 here. We already took Rhys Hoskins over Bellinger. Another one that's sort of close, I think we'll probably be both in the same, is Benintendi or Marte.
Yeah, it's Benny Biceps. Will be the same on this one. I think the power upside is going to keep growing, and with the potential steals increase and runs scored, I'll take Benny there because the thing that made Marte always so great is he steal with a little bit of power and kind of do a little bit of everything else. But Benny might have even more upside than Marte this year. So yeah, give me Benny Biceps.
Yeah, Marte doesn't walk a ton, so he's not tremendous in OBP leagues. But I've never been a Marte guy for some reason, and I've kind of been almost right with especially last year, and then he had the steroid issue, 2017 when he had the steroid issue, so that was a tough one. Last one here that I have at least is an interesting one to me when I kind of looked at both of them today a little bit further was Harrison Bader or Luriano from the Athletics.
Yeah, this one's interesting because it's two teams that don't always stick to their guns on who the hell they're going to play. They both have pretty good farm systems at these positions. You look at all the projection sites; they all look really, really good. Gun to my head, I think I'd take Harrison Bader over Luriano, but getting Luriano at pick 192 is pretty darn sexy, especially if he's leading off. I think that'll be the deciding factor because they're pretty similar players, like at least projection wise and how they performed last year. I think I'll go Luriano at 192.
I do think Bader has a little bit more power. I think they'll be closer, but I do think Luriano will probably have a little bit better average. And like you said, 30 picks later. I think the one thing that I probably would still wait because it's 30 picks. If they were on the same pick, I'd probably take Bader because I don't think defensively he's not coming out of that lineup. I think we can say that with certainty. And that's what maybe puts them over the top if they were around the same pick. But because it's 30 picks later, I think I'm probably taking Luriano.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
All right, let's end on this. There's 50 guys in the top 200, according to the NFBC draft champions, 50 guys in the top 200. Let's go. And anyone you're going to take, I think one for me right off the bat at 51 at 206, I'm going to take a chance on Ryan Braun.
Yeah,
because he's still there. Ryan Braun is still there. It's just the health concern.
Yep.
They're going to give him a lot of days off. So that's probably the first guy. I think you agree with that. And let's get a couple guys from you.
Yeah, I love the Ryan Braun. That's just way too much value for what you're getting from him. A couple others, you'll hear the fancy names like Franmil Reyes. I think Trey Mancini, sneaky nice. I think he's actually going to take that next step this next year. So he's a guy, corner infield, later outfield. I don't mind at all. Your boy JBJ, I think we can see a lot there.
Yep.
One I really, really like. I dug in on him last week. Randall Grichuk is batting cleanup or fifth for the Toronto Blue Jays. And if you want to geek out on StatCast data, go look at Randall Grichuk. And it's pretty amazing what he does with the baseball. And right now, this could change. He finally won't be in a platoon for one of the first times in his career. So I think Grichuk is a legit 30-plus homer option, potential at pick 242. So I think there's a lot to like there. There's still risk. Things could go south, but I like him. There's always going to be a ton of guys here. If you just want some stability, Shin-Soo Chu's always down there at 270. Stevens, who's a junior, is batting cleanup for the Arizona Diamondbacks if you just want to punt. There's a ton. We can go on and on. It's such a deep position. You have 4 or 5 on its fantasy team. Those are just a couple that I look at. Jake Bowers, you've talked about before, and some others.
Yeah, we've talked about Jake Bowers for sure. I kind of wish that Manuel Margot had a solidified position in that outfield, and you just don't know there. So I picked 243. I probably have a couple shares, but it's really tough because he does have some tools there that can really get him, a lot of steals, and especially that late if you're able to get. I mean, I don't know what his max pick was, or his min pick was 134, I think, in one of the Draft Champions League. So someone really believes in him, unless that was kind of a mix up there, which it could have. I think one guy I'm probably looking at, and I just had him here. I think a lot of people will be on him is Kyle Tucker at 271. I think obviously the question is you got to throw that little cup of coffee out. I think we know what he is. He's going to be a very, very good major leaguer, and they need him to be. It's just playing time. That's really, really the big question for that team. They got Michael Brantley. We mentioned Springer already. Do they let Tony Kemp continue to hit? They played him a lot in left field last year, in the playoffs especially. So that's just another guy that is sort of taking a spot from him. Maybe Markakis if you're at 333, if you really want average. He's not going to give you a ton of power. He's going to play for that team in the outfield. Those few guys, I probably wouldn't go so far. I mean, there's other prospects. I mean, Tyler O'Neill at 350, not guaranteed not guaranteed a spot in that outfield. Willie Calhoun, will he ever get there? Vertigo, does he have a spot? Lewis Brinson will be better, but will he get past 230? I probably not. So that's just another guy that you really can't count on. But that's all the way down to 100. So I'm not sure we're getting all the way there in the Great Fantasy Baseball Invitational, and maybe not in your league either. But those are just a few guys that I would probably go after. Yeah,
it's deep as expected. A lot of options and a lot of playing time questions still to kind of decipher through some of those guys. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. Like you mentioned, Manny Margot, you got Franmil Reyes, Franchi Cordero, and Hunter Renfroe out there. It's like, where's it all going to go? Because they all have big upsides, so it'll be interesting.
Yep, for sure.
But all right, that'll wrap us up for episode 98. Hopefully we get some signings for next week, or we're going to have more fantasy baseball talk to talk about and get going on some team previews here pretty soon and whatnot. But you can check out Mo on Twitter at Boston_Mo. He podcasts at Around Bases Pod. I am at BDintric. If you can give us a rating and review on iTunes, we much, much appreciate it. But this was Around the Base with Bubba and Mo, episode 98. Catch you guys later.
See you.